Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our reading through the TANAK segment, 27th of September 2023. What we be doing is connecting dots with through the Targums. That's the first 5 books of the Old Testament, the Torah. But they have another version of them, which is called Targums, with more information. So with that being said, I was going to introduce you to Prophets of Awakening. You can go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening. Check out our video. There's a lot of information given. And these videos will lead you to connect dots for you and lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay? And for those that want to support the channel, you can deal with our cash app at the bottom of the screen, just one across the screen. Okay? For those that don't know, this is the non-Messianic channel. And by that I mean we deal with the TANAK, which is the Old Testament, and so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah, which is the first 5 books that was given to Moses to dealing with our Israel's laws, statutes, and judgments. Okay, and we don't subscribe to the New Testament because it's a concoction of Esau and the Gentiles in Alexandria, Egypt. Okay, so with that being said, I want to say shalom and welcome to the Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our reading through the Tanakh. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, start with a prayer, Psalms, do some current events, bring forth some new, need to know information, and we open up for some Q&A, and then we go into our topic, which is we'll be connecting dots using the Targums. Okay? So with that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and our Creator Yahweh and all that they're doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay? Oh Lord, we come before thee at this hour, praising you and honoring you because of your position, both in heaven and upon the earth, a position in which Creator Yahweh have given unto thee. Through your spirit and counsel, O Lord, we are awakened. We are awakened to know who we are as a people and who you are as our Savior and our Redeemer. And we are thankful for all that you have done, and we are eagerly searching your scriptures out that we may be in the right place at the right time upon your arrival to this planet. Lord, I pray to thee that you continue to let your light shine down upon us in spirit and in truth. And we love you. We seek you daily, O Lord. There is none else besides thee to redeem us. And we see you in the affairs of the world, and we faithfully await your deliverance. Peace be on you. Okay. So with that being said, I'll read a song. Okay. I'm going to read Psalm 77. It's Victorious God. It's a song by Asaph. It says, in Judah is God known. His name is great in Israel. In Salem also is his tabernacle and his dwelling place in Zion. There break he the arrows of the bow, the shield, and the sword in the battle. Selah. Thou art more glorious and excellent than the mountains of prey. The stout-hearted are spoiled, they are slept, their sleep, and none of the men of might have found their hands. At that rebuke, O God of Jacob, both the chariots and the horse are cast into to a deep sleep. Even thou art to be feared, and who may stand in thy sight when once thou art angry. Thou didst cause judgment to be heard from heaven. The earth feared and was still. When God arose to judgment, to save all the meek of the earth. Selah. Surely the wrath of a man shall praise thee. The remembrance of wrath shall thou restrain. Vow and pay unto the Lord your God, and let all that be found that round about him bring presents unto him. Let all be feared. He shall cut off the spirit of princes. He is terrible to the kings of the earth. So that was Psalm 76. It's a victorious God. So I want to shine light on verse 2. It says in Shalom also, in Salem also is his tabernacle, and his dwelling place is in Zion. And there he break the arrows of the bow, the shield, and the sword, and the and the battle. Selah. So Salem is used to be Jebus, or the Jebusites is said, but David conquered it. So, but it goes back to Melchizedek. That's where Shem and Noah when them was at, was in Salem. So that's what Melchizedek means, king of Salem. That's where you get the word Jerusalem. Jerusalem got Salem in it. So eventually they placed the tabernacle there, and that's where the Lord hosts the wells at, in Zion. Okay. So with that, anybody have anything? Any comment? Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna go to our current event. Okay. Of analysis that you'll receive absolutely no world, and welcome back to the original home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting super fortress of intelligent black thought. No, I wasn't kidding. We are the Black Media, and this is the Black Channel, and I am the Black Authority. And you are listening live to the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the entire cosmos. Of course, you are welcome to join us. Very glad to be back with you all here on the original Black Authority channel here on YouTube. Even though those folks over there don't like it, you gotta love it, because you can't stop it. And I'm just warning you in advance that tonight's program is gonna be a flamethrower. So sit back, strap in, buckle down, and get ready for the ride. Now, well, as I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted, folks, you're gonna learn to listen to the new Black Media. At some point, you're gonna learn to listen to what we have to say. You're gonna just finally stop acting like, well, they like all the others. No, we are not. We aren't like anybody else at all. We don't give you flailing opinions and hysterics. We give you the 720 degrees of analysis that you'll receive absolutely nowhere else. And our accuracy rating is outrageously high. And when it comes to the issue of reparations, do you all remember what the conversation was like 10 years ago? Y'all niggas is crazy. Ain't no such thing as reparations. Ain't never gonna happen. Forget us, that bears. Ain't gonna happen 5 years ago. Well, it would be just too hard and too expensive to get reparations. So, it's just gonna be too tough to get that 3 years ago. Well, you all are making a lot of trouble pushing this reparations thing, and the majority of people don't support it, so you're making a lot of trouble out there 1 year ago.
polls and reparations task forces have been convened, but the majority of people still don't agree with reparations this year. Take a look on your screen. That is not photoshopped. That is an article from today from the Los Angeles Times. And you are reading exactly what it says. After all this time, after all this gaslighting, after everything that we've been told, after everything that we were assured, after everything they said to us there, next thing you know is a whole different ball game. And what we have been saying all along is now what they are openly admitting. Now, I am going to go into some of the details about this, because I do not want you to have half information. I will go into the details about this so you can see exactly what the article says. But folks, we've been telling you for the longest time. Now, one brief aside before we get started with that, please do be aware, on this YouTube channel, it doesn't have monetization. They demonetized this channel years and years and years and years ago. So the super chat, some of you have become accustomed to, I thank you very much for that, that's not available. However, if you'll take a look at the links in the description of the video, you'll see the links to our PayPal. We got that reactivated, our Cash App, and our Venmo. So unlike YouTube, they don't keep 30% of every dollar. They only keep like 1 or 2%. So definitely, if you've been giving before, please avail yourself to that now. We appreciate your support as always. Regardless, the pain train moves on. Now, the article here, as you can see, the headline says, most Californians want reparations for slavery, but don't want to pay cash. Now what? Here's my thing about that. If cash is what you took, cash is what you got to give back. Well, I want to take cash, but could I give you something else other than cash? So this is the game that they're playing, and this is what we're up against now. All right, then you get to the first sentence of the article. Brace yourselves here. Listen to the, just in case you thought that this article was sympathetic towards us, no. Look at the first sentence of the article from Laura J. Nelson and Annabelle Souza. For a strong majority of California voters, the question of whether the Golden State should offer cash payments to descendants of enslaved Africans has a clear answer. No. Did you see that? That didn't take very long to escalate now, did it? Right out the gate. Miss Nelson and Miss Sosa, we'll keep that in mind for Miss Sosa. We'll keep that in mind because that's going to come back up again in this article. It says, but despite that stark finding from a new UC Berkeley poll co-sponsored by the Times, most California voters possess a more nuanced view on the lasting legacy of slavery and how the state should address those wrongs. They agree that slavery still affects today's Black residents, and more than half said the state is either not doing enough or just enough to ensure a fair shake at success. Now, I want to give you all one more caveat here, especially those of us from the Deep South, from the former slave states, but especially the Deep South, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Arkansas, Tennessee, so on. When you ask them, why is it that all of your states are so far behind the other states economically, that America's poorest states for the last century and a half have all been in the same place despite being majority white? Why is it that all of these deep southern states are majority white and yet you have been economically at the bottom for over 100 years? Well, they will all tell you it was the result of the Civil War. That's the first thing they'll tell you. If you're in history class at any of these universities, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, they'll tell you, oh, the Civil War. So let me get this straight. Your economically deprived situation is a result of the Civil War. But you're telling us that our economically deprived state isn't the result of something that happened 50 years ago. Yours is the result of what happened 160 years ago. Ours isn't the result of what happened to us 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and 150 years ago, and 200 years ago. That's not causing us. It was the cause of you but it's not the cost for us. So next time you find somebody who tries to make that argument, folks, I'm giving you the intellectual firepower that you need to defeat them each and every time. Now, it goes in here to say that the debate and commentary over California's reparations plan, the first of its kind in the nation, has focused largely on cash payments. But the Reparations Task Force, created by Governor Gavin Newsom and state lawmakers in 2020, also recommended more than 100 other policies to help address persistent racial disparities, including reforms to the criminal justice system and the housing market, prisons and housing, the same garbage they were saying in Florida. More money for us would resolve both of those issues. It goes on to say here, those options contained in a 1,080-page report. Now, the Ukrainians didn't need a 1,080-page report. The Afghans didn't need a 1,080-page report. LGBT didn't need a 1,080-page report. Nobody needs helping Asian Americans didn't require a 1,080-page report. The folks who've been here the longest, and it is common knowledge of everything that's happened to us, it requires huge amounts of data and analysis. And, oh man, can you bring in the wheelbarrows full of data? Here we go. We gotta go with a fine-tooth comb now. And everybody else, we can go ahead and get you what you need. But with us, is, oh man, we need libraries full of data. What you're saying is that it's in dispute, and it's not. Those options contain the 1,080-page report on the effects of slavery and the discriminatory policies sanctioned by the government after slavery was abolished. So the hard work in California is paying off, because listen to the way in which it's worded. Slavery and the discriminatory policies sanctioned by the government after slavery was abolished, but we need to make it clear in its proper context that those policies focused on lineage. When you say slavery, you are referring to a specific lineage. And the government targeted those of us from a specific lineage. So you have to keep that in its proper context. Without that, you have nothing. Without that, you have nothing. Without that, you have chaos. Without that, you have people trying to pull a fast one. 1,080-page report on the effects of slavery and discriminatory policies sanctioned by the government after slavery was abolished may be taken up to a year, may be taken up next year in the next legislative session, leaving plenty of room to explore the spectrum of opinions that voters have so far expressed, experts say. So we're going to take everybody's opinions into account. But nobody took America's opinions into account for the Ukrainians, Afghans. You get the point. Quote, often people will be in favor of the principle, but not the policy, said Ange Marie Hancock, the executive director of the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity at Ohio State University and a former department chair of political science at USC. Quote, when you get to the question of what the government should do about it, that's when the rubber hits the road. Yeah, everybody likes talking about racism. They like talking about racism. As I told you over a decade ago, oh, they'll acknowledge that racism exists while they'll point it out everywhere it happens. It's right when you say, now, what are we going to do about it? That's when folks start getting all wobbly and all quiet, and they start dummying up on you. Richard Malone, the 71-year-old retiree in Rancho Cucamonga, who is a registered Republican, said he fears what California's reparations plan could do to his tax bill. Already, he said, the state is becoming too expensive for people on fixed incomes. Quote, I know who will pay. It's people like me, said Malone, a retired IRS agent. Quote, it won't be the rich. It won't be the poor. It will be all of us in the middle. You don't have to be a mathematician to know that our taxes will have to go up to pay for this. Malone, who is white, said he would rather see California legislators provide, quote, more of a helping hand to all disadvantaged residents, regardless of race.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. Got something else right here.
Why President Joe Biden made a trip down there and was trying to, console the families because property worth millions of dollars has been destroyed. The livelihoods of people have been distracted. Some people have been injured. But the people are not very happy with the president. That is because he came with less than $1,000. He came with between $700 and $800 as relief for people who've lost their homes. In this current real estate market where homes are very, very, very expensive, the price of houses in America is skyrocketing by the day vis-a-vis the income that Americans are making. So for somebody to work so hard and have a home, it means that they acquired or they got the home through blood, sweat, and tears. And then here comes a president that is bringing very little and just his face as consolation. And what was annoying the people is the fact that America is pumping so much money in Ukraine to fund the war so that it can indirectly get back at Russia. But at home, your own house is burning, you have issues back at home. And not just the flooding. America has very many systematic issues that affect minority communities. And instead of putting the money there, you, in your wisdom, have decided to give that money to Ukraine. And when I'm in the most and dire need of the government to come to my aid, you show up with $700 and you expect me to smile for the camera and shake your hand. And the people are just like, no, it's not going to happen. Listen to what they had to say. I think Joe Biden should take his $700 and get back on the plane and go home. That's what I do. The $700 compared to all the millions he's giving to Ukraine, why? We need it. Okay, I haven't had any money come in. I haven't had anybody call me back. I didn't have anything. I have no idea. I lost my house. I lost my car. I lost my animals. I mean, come on, man. We're not getting anything. Till today, I still didn't get my meds. I cannot get my meds yet. My medicine was all burnt in my house. My rent money was all burnt in my house. I have no money anymore. I think Joe Biden should take his $700 and get back on the plane and go home. That's what I do. The $700 compared to all the millions he's giving to Ukraine, why? We need it.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Yeah, question.
Okay.
I mean, why would they think anything more than what the government policies actually are? That's how they make their money, is by expanding. That's the thing. There's no money to be made by helping Americans. Money is made by helping other countries. So, I don't. I think the problem is people don't understand how America made it, so great, I guess. Like you just showed that video yesterday that was pretty much talking about that. So it's good for them to give all that money to Ukraine because that boosts the back end of the reserve currency, which is the US dollar. So they think that this country has any ethical or moral standards, then it's like, where you been? Where have you been all this time?
Right. Yeah, they don't never do the right thing. Anybody else? Okay, got some need to know information right here.
Here for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to give us a big thumbs up and share the broadcast. Thank you so very much, family. It is not often that we find a Caucasian, American in particular, say the obvious. And that is calling out America's need to actually repair or make reparations for a centuries-old bloody misdeeds against the true founding fathers and mothers of this country, which are Black women and Black men. I want you to watch what this lady says right here.
How do I feel about reparations for Black Americans? I feel that if the government isn't going to settle its debt, there is no hope for this country. Until we reconcile the balance sheet for all the stolen lives, stolen labor, and the fact that this country got to skip all of the growth years to become an economic superpower on the backs of enslaved Black Americans, until we honor the treaties in the sacred land of the indigenous and hold true to the word that we gave, a treaty which is supposed to supersede even the Constitution, there's no hope for unity. America loves to pride itself on this idea that it's a country that keeps its word. Its handshake is as good as its signature on a contract, but our signature on a contract is no good. And until we deal with those things, we will just be stuck microscopically moving the needle towards equity, but we can never get there until those things are done.
Did you all hear that? She makes it clear that America has no hope unless she makes it right with us and the indigenous people of this country by and through the treaties. And of course, as the great Dr. Claude Anderson has shown us and has taken legal action in court to demand the benefits of the treaties that actually have to do with Black Americans. Many people don't know that some of the original natives in this land were actually Black natives. Are y'all hearing me? And the Maroons are not just Maroons that were in, the Maroons don't just consist of those that fled to the Caribbean. Beloved, there were American Maroons that stayed right here and fought the beast that's little talked about. Are y'all hearing me today? I can appreciate her saying that, even though she represents a small handful. But let me tell you something. She recognizes that there is no hope. Instead of our open enemy trying to fight us and take us out before our time, instead of them trying to conduct policies and unalive us and take our lives on sight because of their fear of genetic annihilation, she's saying we better make it right so that we can stay on this planet for an additional weekend. Somebody black talk black to me. I got to hit the gavel on that. That's the righteous thing to do. And that's precisely the energy of the spirit that we're trying to say to every other current wannabe slave owner and neo-colonialist. It's in your best interest to deal with us righteously in order for it to go well with you. If you fight by force and you fight the inevitable, you're going to ultimately in the end lose because we're on the side of righteousness.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay, we're gonna go to our Q&A, questions and comments. Anybody have anything they want to bring up or talk about that we can expound on? Anybody have anything? Okay, yeah, so I had mentioned that about how in the past, you know, how long these people been killing us and our leaders and on this side of the Atlantic and that side of the Atlantic. And so I saw this video right here and I was like, okay, yeah, let's check it out.
Western powers, despite their claims of being champions of human rights and watchdogs of other countries, have shown that they are the biggest violators of human rights and have a persistent interference in other nations to protect their own interests. African leaders, especially countries like Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, etc., which in recent time has stood their ground in opposing the perpetuation of exploitation by the Europeans, should also be mindful and be on the alert for the next likely move by these European powers. France and other Western power is likely going to play their last card in their fight for continual exploitation in Africa. Yes, one reason why history keeps repeating itself is because human beings hardly learn from it. Throughout African history, there have been numerous tragic killings of leaders who dared to challenge the status quo and fight for their country's rights. These leaders shared a common vision of self-determination, fairness, and independence from colonialism and external influence. Their stories embody a profound commitment to their people and the development of their nations, often at great personal risk. These presidents were not just political figures, but visionary leaders who aimed to make their countries symbols of sovereignty and independence. However, their aspirations made them targets for foreign powers seeking to safeguard their own interests in Africa. The tragic killings of these leaders serve as a poignant reminder of the intricate power dynamics, the long struggle for independence, and the significant sacrifices made by individuals who resisted the forces attempting to control Africa's destiny. Despite enduring violence and tragedy, these sacrifices continue to shape Africa's path towards sovereignty and freedom of choice. The involvement of foreign powers in the assassination of African leaders who fought for sovereignty and independence has been a central and distressing theme in the continent's history. These leaders, driven by a deep desire to rid their nations of the remnants of colonialism, posed a significant threat to the established order and the interests of global powers. World powers, particularly former colonial rulers, viewed Africa as a battleground in the Cold War quest for influence and control. Consequently, they often opposed African leaders who sought genuine self-determination. These powers employed various strategies to weaken or eliminate these leaders, including covert operations, support for opposition groups, or orchestrating coups to replace leaders who didn't align with their interests. Economic pressure, sanctions, and political manipulation were also used to undermine leaders advocating for full autonomy in their countries. On certain occasions, external powers even sponsored or tolerated the tragic killings of these leaders to maintain their geopolitical and financial dominance in Africa. The engagement of world powers in African affairs has had far-reaching and long-lasting consequences. It has deepened political instability, hindered economic development, and fueled violence across the continent.
Looking to begin a new career or boost your current one?
Some of the leaders who dared to defy these foreign powers highlights the tremendous challenges African states face in establishing their sovereignty and determining their own futures. The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, stands out as one American intelligence agency with a long history of involvement in African events. Many covert operations conducted by the agency, as well as its complicity in the assassinations of various leaders, have come to light. The CIA established an Africa division in November 1959, with its mandate reportedly focused on securing American power across the continent by any means necessary, including undermining Pan-African unity and destabilizing several African countries. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton even defended U.S. interference, stating that the coups the U.S. helped plan in Africa were necessary to protect American interests. Unfortunately, even African leaders who once collaborated with the U.S. have not been spared. Muammar Gaddafi, the deposed president of Libya, who had previously worked closely with the CIA, was killed in October 2011. Similarly, Egypt's third president, Mohammed Anwar al-Sadat, who had collaborated with U.S. intelligence, was assassinated by fundamentalist army officials in October 1981. It is not just the US, but other Western powers, including France and Portugal, have also been implicated in such actions. For instance, Alto Bondiquiadian, the politician imprisoned for plotting against President Francois Tumblebay's regime, was later killed in Paris in August 1973. The deaths of these African leaders, who simply sought to fight for their country's freedom from imperialism and neo-colonialism, expose the hypocrisy of the West, which readily destroys and destabilizes nations that obstruct their interests. The assassination of Patrick Lumumba on January 17, 1961, serves as a grim testament to the lengths to which the West would go to maintain control over Africa. It became evident that no one was safe from Western interference. Patrice Lumumba is just one of the many martyrs silenced in the most brutal manner for simply resisting complete submission to the Western agenda and propaganda. A similar fate befell Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, who was only 37 years old when he was gunned down on October 15, 1987, along with 12 others. Witnesses claimed his assassination was ordered by former Liberian President Charles Taylor with the cooperation of the French and American governments, and carried out by Blaise Compaoré, Sankara's longtime friend and colleague. What about Sylvanus Olympio of Togo? The story of Togo's independence cannot be told without mentioning Sylvanus Olympio, a key figure who played a crucial role in leading the country to freedom from French rule. However, his pursuit of independence came at a great cost. To impede the Togolese people's desire for self-government, France demanded a payment of 800 million francs from the small West African colony, claiming it was necessary to cover the so-called benefits of French colonization. Recognizing France's attempt to maintain control, Olympio dedicated 2 years to utilizing Togo's land and resources to compensate the demanding sum. Despite this significant payment and the attainment of nominal independence, General Charles de Gaulle refused to relinquish control, asserting that all French colonies, independent or not, remained the property of France. In an effort to break free from French dominance, Olympio made the bold decision to abandon the CFA franc currency, which had been forcibly imposed on France's colonies in 1945. However, this move did not sit well with Paris, leading them to take action. According to the African Lisbon tour, just 2 days before Olympio was scheduled to sign the withdrawal agreement at the Bank of France, with the assistance of the US, orchestrated his assassination. In 1963, Olympio was killed in a military coup within the US Embassy compound in Lome. Similarly, the tragic fate of Felix Moumi in Cameroon cannot be overlooked. A renowned fighter for independence, Felix, also known as Cameroon's Lumumba, died in Geneva on November 3, 1960, following the country's official declaration of independence from France. As the leader of the Union of the Peoples of Cameroon, UPC, a prominent political movement demanding an end to UN trusteeship and full independence for the country, Felix was poisoned with thallium by an agent of the French Secret Service. The Swiss authorities were aware of Felix's assassin, but under pressure from Paris, they never indicted or pursued the case further. France.
Okay. Any comment? So listening to that, you would assume that if you haven't really got into the scriptures or really did your homework, you wouldn't see the connection. But all this stuff right here that we were just listening to, it was prophesied. But it was like I said, we had so many of our records that was taken away from us, and they only used what they needed to go along with the story when they concocted JC. A lot of our history, and you understand who our God is, understand that these angels and all that, we had so much stuff that was told to our forefathers about the times that we're living in now, but we can't connect the dots with it because it's been misconstrued, but it's all coming to light now. So, like I was asking earlier, did anybody have any comments on that before I go to reading? Because I'm reading out of the Targums, and based on what I was just playing and listening to, we're talking about, we're going to see how plain is made, how plain is presented in the Targums. Anybody have any comments on anything before I start reading? I'm going to pick up where I was reading last night. Okay? So, let me get it. Wow. Okay. Let's see where I stopped that. Okay, so I'm gonna pick it up in like I said, I'm in the Targums, which is the Torah, first 5 books, but it's got more information in it than what was given to us in the King James. So it says we're picking up in chapter 18, which is also chapter 18 in Genesis, which is story of Abraham. So it says, God appeared to Abraham in the plains of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance of his tent in the hottest part of the day. But when Abraham raised his eyes, and remember I was talking to the brother, he said it was 3 men came, and you got all these Christian aspects of this story, which they want to make it seem as if, there's no other answer to it. It's got to be what they gave us. It's got to be true. But we're going to see right here that, like I said, it's 3 angels. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's 3 angels that came to Abraham. Yahweh were with him. So it says, God appeared to Abraham in the plains of Mamre while he was sitting at the entrance of his tent in the hottest part of the day. But when Abraham raised his eyes, he noticed 3 strangers standing a short distance from him. True to his mission, he immediately ran toward them, bowed down deeply to them, and greeted them. So notice, as we go, notice what our forefathers doing. They ain't doing like we was doing. He said, this Abraham, we know how important Abraham was to Lord of hosts and to heaven. So he running. When these 3 angels came, it says, but when Abraham raised his eyes, he noticed 3 strangers standing a short distance from him. True to his mission, he immediately ran, see that, toward them, bowed down deeply to them, and greeted them. He said to one of them, Sir, please favor me by stopping here for a short time before continuing on your journey. Let me bring you some water to wash your feet and rest under the tree. And I will get some bread for you so you can refresh yourself. Then you can continue on your way. You are already at my door, so come and accept my invitation. All right, they replied, we will accept your kindness. Abraham rushed Abraham rushed to Sarah's tent and said, so they giving us, I want you to check out what they told us in King James and in the church, right? This Abraham rushed to Sarah's tent. Abraham rushed to Sarah's tent and said, hurry, 3 measures of fine flour, knead it and make rolls. Abraham ran to the cattle, chose a fine tender calf. He gave it to the young man who rushed to prepare it. Abraham fetched some soft curd cheese and milk and a calf that he had ordered, prepared and placed it before his guests. He stood close by as they ate under the tree. They asked him, where's your wife Sarah? Here in the tent, he replied. One of the men said to him, I will return to you this time next year, and at that time Sarah will have a son. Sarah was on the other side of the entrance of the tent and heard them. Now Abraham and Sarah were already well on in years, and Sarah was no longer able to conceive. She laughed. Check it out now. She laughed to herself, saying, my old body is worn out. Shall I now regain my youth? And my husband too is old. So what I want you to focus on while I'm reading this too is how we don't recognize the Lord of hosts power and what the Lord of hosts capable of doing. That's not at the forefront of our head, right? So it says, then God said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh and say? So notice, said, then God said to Abraham, this ain't none of God. Why did Sarah laugh and say, can I really have a child when I am old? And Abraham, is there anything too difficult for God? At the designated time, I will return and Sarah will have a son. Sarah became frightened and she spoke out in denial and did not laugh. I did not laugh, but Abraham said, in truth, you did laugh. 3 men now arose and gazed at Sodom. Abraham went to them to accompany them as they resumed their journey. Then God said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am going to do? Abraham is about to become a great and mighty nation. It says, Abraham is about to become a great and mighty nation. And through him, all nations of the world will be blessed. I have attended to him, especially so that he will command his children and his household after him to keep God's way, doing so by taking on acts of charity as a duty and by always acting justly. God will then bring about for Abraham everything he has promised him. God then said, there's a great crying out to me coming from Sodom, and the sins of Sodom are so great. I will descend and observe if indeed the Sodomites are doing such as is seen by the outcry that is reaching me, and I will see whether it is so or not so. While Abraham was still standing before God, the three men turned from where they were and headed toward Sodom. He drew near to the appearance of God and said, truly, you will destroy the innocent along with the guilty. Where you are to find 50 innocent people in the city, would you still destroy it, and not spare the city for the sake of the 50 people inside it? Okay, so we know the story, right? So it says, it would be a sacrilege for anyone to believe that you would act so, to kill the innocent with the guilty, letting the righteous and the wicked suffer the same fate. Oh yes, that would be a terrible sacrilege. How could the judge of the entire world act so unjustly? God said, if I find 50 innocent people in Sodom, I will spare the entire area from their sake. Abraham spoke up and said, I know that I have spoken brazenly before my Lord, for I am but dust and ashes. Even so, suppose but 45 innocent. We destroy the entire city for the lack of only 5. I will not destroy it if I find 45 there, replied God. Abraham spoke up again and said, suppose there be 40 in the city. I will not act against the city for the sake of 40, answered God. Let my Lord not be angry with me, but I must speak. What if 30 were found there? I will not act against the city for the sake of the 30, answered God. My Lord, I have already spoken too much, but should 20 be found, and I will not destroy the city for the sake of the 20, God replied. Let my Lord not become angry, but one last time I must speak out. Suppose 10 were found, and I will not destroy the city for the sake of the 10, God answered. God finished speaking with Abram and left him. Check it out. God finished speaking with Abram and left him, and Abram then returned home. So here we go right here. This is the answer the clown I was talking to 3-4 months ago. So it says, unknown to Abraham, the 3 men he had just sent on their way were God's angels. See that? So now one of them ain't Yahweh. Unto Abraham, the 3 men he had just sent on their way were God's angels. It's 3 angels, bro. 2 of them arrived at Sodom in the evening while Lot was sitting at the city gates. Lot saw them, rose from his place, and bowed down deeply to them. And he said, please, my lords, turn aside from their travels and come to my house. Spend the night, bathe your feet, and then continue on your way in the morning. No, they replied, we will spend the night in the city we spend the night in the city square. So I want to shine a light on something. So now coming up, I don't know about nobody else, but coming up in the church, Sunday school and all that, you see the story where they watching JC feet. And yeah, we didn't have no history. We didn't know nothing about our history, about who we were as a people. This is why they got it in the story, him feet being washed. Because we see right here, all through here, Lot washing their feet, these angels' feet, Abraham washing their feet. We're gonna see tonight while I'm reading this, how many times their feet get washed. So why they have that in the story with JC? because they tell him make JC a divine being. But they concocted him at Alexandria, but they using this just like everything else. We know Abraham, the star came when Abraham was born, not when JC was born. So they took the star from Abraham and put it on JC. Same thing right here with his washing of the feet. So it says, Lot tried again and again to persuade them. Finally, they could no longer refuse his entreaties, and they turned in toward his house. There he quickly baked matzah for them, and they ate as if at a feast. And they had not yet gone to bed when they heard a commotion outside the house. Citizens from all parts of Sodom, old and young alike, were surrounding the house. They called out to Lot and said, "Where are the strangers who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may satisfy the pleasures that are our way." Lot went out to them, locking the door behind him and blocking the doorway. He said to them, "My brothers, do not do such an evil thing. I have 2 daughters." Nobody wants to deal with this either right here. It says, "I have 2 daughters who have never known a man. I will bring them out to you to do them as it pleases you. But do nothing to these men." So it's an obvious difference between the women and the men right here. "I have 2 daughters who have never known a man. I will bring them out to you to do to them as it pleases you. But do nothing to these men. They have come to my home and are now as if members of my household. Move in closer." They yelled to one another. They shouted a lot. "Look at him. He came here as an immigrant, and now all of a sudden he sets himself as a judge over us. We'll give it to you worse than these same strangers." They surged forward, pushing up against Lot, and tried to break the door down. The strangers reached out through the doorway of the house, pulled Lot inside, closed the door, and the strangers then struck with blindness those of the mob who were near the door, young and old alike, so that these Sodomites were unable to find the door. The strangers said to Lot, "Are there others of your immediate family, perhaps a son-in-law, your sons, your daughters? If you have anyone in the city, get them out of this place, for we are about to destroy it. The sins of the people in this city are thunderous and have reached the ears of God, and he has sent us to destroy this city." Lot went out and spoke to the young men who were betrothed to his daughters, and he said, "Leave this area." Check it out. So where we at right now. He said, "Leave this area quickly. God is about to destroy this city." But they took Lot's warning as nothing more than a joke. That's where we at. So as dawn was breaking, the 2 strangers hurried to Lot. "Get moving now," they said. "Take your wife and your 2 daughters from here, and you don't want to be swept away with the others in the city of sin." But Lot hesitated. The strangers grabbed Lot, his wife, his 2 daughters by the hand, led them out, and left them all on the edge of the city. And when they had left the city, one of the angels said, "Run for your life. Do not look back. Do not stop anywhere in the valley. Flee to the hills, so that you are not swept away." Lot said to them, "O God, you are all powerful, but now you are showing me your kindness and saving my life, but I will not be able to reach the safety of the hills. This disaster will overtake me and I will die. Please, there is a city nearby that can provide me refuge. It is not at all a significant city. I will flee there. Yes, isn't it an insignificant city? There will I survive." So notice right here in verse 19, chapter 19, verse 18 of the Targums, it says, remember, Abraham, it was unbeknownst to Abraham that these were 3 angels. Yahweh ain't nowhere on the scene. So it says in chapter 19, verse 18, Lot said to them, "Oh God." That's what you got to let firmate right there. So Lot said to them, "Oh God, you are all powerful, but no, you are showing me your kindness in saving my life, but I will not be able to reach safety of the hills." So Yahweh ain't nowhere around, but they're using this word God. Okay, I'm in 21. The angel said to Lot, "I have taken note of your plea, and I will not overturn the city, but please hurry as fast as you can, for I cannot do nothing until you get there." The city once known as Bela was hereafter be known as Zor. So the sun had risen by the time that Lot arrived in Zor. God made a sulfur and fire rain down from the sky upon Sodom and Gomorrah. It came not from his angels, but directly from God. He devastated these cities and the entire plains with them, destroying everyone who lived in the cities and everything that was growing from the ground. So this is what I want to shine a light on as we go. Like I said, we don't have this information; it's been taken away. So I got a conversation last night about Sahara Desert and about Atlantis and all that. So Sodom is nothing compared to what was going on in Atlantis. So we see how Sodom was destroyed right here with fire and brimstone and all that, right? So keep that in mind. 1920, chapter 19, verse 26. Lot White, despite the warning, turned and looked past Lot to see the ruins of the city and the land, and she was turned into a pillar of salt. After the angels had left him, Abraham awoke early check it out. Abraham awoke early the following morning and rushed back to the place where he had stood before God. He stared at the scene before him, check it out, at Sodom and Gomorrah and the whole area of the plains. He saw only heavy smoke rising from the earth like the smoke of a furnace. Same thing. Just take that right there and take it to the Sahara Desert. This was a judgment. So it's a judgment took place. They took the understanding from us, but it's a judgment took place in the Sahara Desert. And it's tied to Atlantis and what those angels was doing. So anyway, it says, while God was causing the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and the plains, he took note of Abram. In his marriage, God allowed Lot and his daughters to escape the Zor. Lot then left Zor and settled in a hill country together with his two daughters, being afraid to remain in Zor. And they entered a cave in the hills and began to live there. So like I was saying before, this is what so many people can't firmate and they can't move forward as far as they understanding when you're trying to deal with scriptures was, it's about it's these sexual things going on, sexual sins that constantly keep happening. It's a sex thing that happened in the garden. It's a sex thing that happened with Noah. And there's a sex thing happening right here. So let's look at it. It says, let me get it. Okay, so it says, the older daughter said to the younger daughter, our father is growing old. Look out there. Surely there is no other man left in the world to marry and give us children. Come, let us get our father drunk with wine and then sleep with him. In this way, we will be able to fulfill our role of producing offspring in the earth. So it's a truckload of information right here. Let's go back and read it again. The older daughter said to the younger, our father is growing old. Look out there. Surely there is no other man left in the world to marry us. So this they concern right here. No other man to marry us and to give us children. See that? And then come. They still talking. Come, let us get our father drunk. Noah got drunk. come, let us get our father drunk with wine, and then sleep with him. In this way, look at this. In this way, we will be able to fulfill our role. See that? We'll be able to fulfill our role of producing offspring to fill the earth. Come on. Let that from me. So that night, they got their father drunk, and the older daughter went in and laid with her father. Lot was not aware that she had lain with him, and he was not aware when she left him. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, last night, it was I who lay with our father. Let us again get our father drunk with wine, and then you will sleep with him. Both of them, both of us will then have done what we must. Here go again. Both of us will have done what we must to fulfill our role of producing offspring to fill the earth. Okay. 1935. That night, they got their father drunk again, and the younger daughter went in and lay with his father, and Lot was not aware that that she had lain with him, and he was not aware when she left him. So, like I said before, all you gotta do is go back to Noah. This is about sex right here. So you're gonna go to Noah and Noah and Noah got naked. Noah got wine. He got drunk. He got naked. And Noah woke up and found out what his son had done to him. Come on, his wife. He slept with Noah's wife. That's how you get Canaan. Okay, ain't hard to figure out. Lot's two daughters became pregnant from their father. The older daughter had a son whom she called Mo, meaning, so this is the point I want to shine a light on. They give you the meaning of these names because that's what they did back then. So the name told you the story. So it says the older daughter had a son whom she called Mo, meaning from a father. That's what it means. He is the ancestor of the nation of Mo, dwelling southeast of the Dead Sea. They're gonna even tell you where they lived at. Dwelling southwest of the Dead Sea. The younger daughter also had a son. She named him Benin, meaning son of my people. He's the ancestor of the nation of Ammon, dwelling northeast of the Dead Sea. Abel migrated from where he had settled in Canaan to the Negev. There he settled in the area between Kadesh and Shur. From there, he visited Gerar to the west, where supplies were available. When he arrived there, he did it in this place he had done when he went down into Egypt years earlier. Abraham announced that his wife Sarah was his sister. And when this was told to Amalek, king of Gerar, he sent messengers to take Sarah. So God came to Abraham. So we know this ain't God. This angel came to Abraham. The angel of the Lord came to Amalek. God came to Amalek in a dream that night. You will die because of the woman you took. And God said to him, she is already married. But Amalek had not made advances to her. And he said to God, "O Lord, would you destroy my nation, which is not like Sodom? Was I not told by her husband that he was not married to her, that she is his sister? She too claimed that he was her brother. I acted toward her with an innocent heart and clean hands." Now check this out. So this is what they didn't tell us. So God answered him in a dream. I do not know that you have acted. I do know that you have acted innocently. That is why I kept you from doing such a sin against me by preventing you from touching her. So let's go back and read that again. God answered him in the dream. I do not know that you have. I do know that you have acted innocently. That is why I kept you from doing such a sin against me by preventing you from touching her. So they're going to touch you. Take that back to Adam and Eve in the garden. The tree. Neither shall you touch it. So it ain't no tree. You're going to touch it right here again, right here. So it says, now return the man and his wife. Now return the man and his wife to him, for he is a prophet, and he will pray to you, and you will live. But he assured that if you do not return her, you and all the yours will most certainly die. So let's look at this. So Abraham a prophet. Let that friend make he a prophet. So this a prophet, a man of God, Abraham friend, the Lord of hosts friend, and he ain't aware of that. Same thing going on right now. So he says, God answered him in a dream. I do not know that you have acted innocently. I do know that you acted innocently. That is why I have kept you from doing such a sin against me by preventing you from touching her. Now, return the man and his wife to him, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you. See that? He not understanding what Abraham capable of doing for him, right? And he will pray for you, and you will live. But he assured that if you do not return her, you and all who are yours will most certainly die. So let's look at this. It says, now return the man and his wife. Go back to Adam and Eve in the garden. Eve is Adam's wife. The serpent came and took. He came and took Eve from Adam. This ain't just thought. This is why Abraham is telling them. This these people custom. You go all the way back to the garden. So that's why Abraham told Sarah, tell him he ain't lying, but he said, tell him I'm your brother. And it's gonna go well with him because they're gonna try to appease Abraham to get his sister. But if they know it's his wife, they're gonna kill him. Go to Genesis 6. The angels came down and took wives. Any woman they saw, whether she's married or not, if they wanted them, they took them. So Abraham ain't just doing this for the hell of it. There's a reason why he's telling them to say it's his sister. Okay? So he says, Amalek got up early in the morning and summoned all his ministers, speaking to them with care. And he told them of his dream and of the warning God had given him. They too became frightened. But Amalek summoned Abraham and spoke to him accusingly, saying, for what reason have you spoken falsely to us? What terrible thing did I do to you that you should cause me and my people to feel such great guilt? What you have done simply is not done by any honorable person. Then, with a change in his heart, Amalek spoke more calmly and asked Abram to explain, check it out, to explain his behavior, saying, what did you see that made you do such a thing? Here we go, right here. Abraham replied, I was aware here in your land, one cannot find the fear of God. And the fear of God ain't there. Says, according to your ways, all the way back to Cain and the serpent. According to your ways, I could have been killed because of my wife. Yet, if she were known to you as my sister, we would be safe. But indeed, as an orphan, this daughter of my brother Haran came to live in my father's house. According to our ways, I may thus speak of her as my sister. In time, we married. When God made me leave my father's house and wander to other lands, I asked her to please not let the people in such places as could do us harm know that we were married. Wherever we came, she was to say I was her brother. And Amalek took sheep, cattle, male and female slaves, and gave them to Abraham. He also returned Abraham's wife Sarah to him. Amalek said, my whole land is before you. Settle wherever you see fit. To Sarah, he said, I am giving to the man you call brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Let it represent my innocence, and at the same time, it shall be to you and to all that are with you as a compensation for all that was done to upset you. You may stand unashamed in my innocence. So look here, this is he's not even he's not even out of Abraham, or he's not even out of Adam's lineage, but he understands this. So remember what we just read, what the lady said on the current events, that America ain't gonna never be right until they fix the wrong. So it's not just anybody what they did all this to in the transatlantic slave trade. It's God's people. Just like we just read. The angel had to come tell Amalek, he a prophet. You can't handle him no any kind of way. He a prophet. Go get that shit straight. So he told him to go get it straight. So this will be the same position now. Let's read this. We not just know any old people. He says, Amalek took sheep, cattle, male, female slaves, and he gave them to Abram. He also returned, now this is heathen. He also returned Abraham's wife, Sarah, to him. Amalek said, my whole land is before you. Settle wherever you see fit. To Sarah he said, I am giving to the man whom you call your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. It's reparations. Let it represent my innocence, and at the same time, it shall be to you and to all that are with you as a compensation for all that you have done to upset you. You may stand unashamed in your innocence. So you see, the European, the Anglo-Saxon don't understand this. You don't understand that. This is going to be his downfall. So Abraham prayed to God. See that? Just like the angel told him. You're a prophet. You're my friend. You got to respect that. And when you respect that, then he gonna do right by you. So he says, Abraham prayed to God, the God whom he knew was then God healed Amalek and his wife and the slave girls so that they would be able to have children. So God had stopped all the childbearing in Amalek's house because of Abraham and his wife Sarah. And when the time came, this time that God had told Sarah would come, God did for her as he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and she gave birth to Abram's son, even as old as he was. It was exactly at the time that God had promised to Abraham. Abraham gave the name Isaac to his son. Okay, 1 minute. It says Abraham gave the name Isaac to his son whom Sarah had bore. The same noting, okay, hold up. It says Sarah had born. This name noting his unusual birth, or the name means he will laugh. So if you go back and as I was reading that, in every occasion, story, we know Sarah laughed, and then Abraham laughed too. When the angel told him, they both laughed. So that's what Isaac means. It means he will laugh. Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, just as God had commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born. Sarah said, God has given me such joy. All who hear about it will laugh with joy for me. Then she said, who would have even suggested to Abraham that Sarah would be nursing children? Yet here I have given birth to a son in my husband's old age. Isaac grew and he was weaned. Abraham celebrated the day. On that day, as Sarah looked up, she saw the firstborn of her son Abram, born of Hagar, as mother and son were mocking and being disrespectful of the miracle of Isaac's birth. Sarah then said to Abraham, "Send them away, that that servant and her son, the son of that slave, shall not share the inheritance of my son Isaac." So they shine a little more light on the story about Hagar, Ishmael, Sarah. So why Sarah got pissed off was that Hagar was laughing at her because of her old age. That she had a baby at her old age. You know what I'm saying? That's what pissed Sarah off. We weren't getting the whole story. So she was mocking Sarah because she was old and had the baby. You know what I'm saying? She a young lady. Okay. Anyway, so it says Abraham became upset because Sarah was speaking of his son. But God said to Abraham, "Do not be troubled because of your son and his mother or the servant. Do everything that Sarah tells you. The legacy that you will leave will surely be through Isaac. Still, I will also make the servant's son into a nation, for he too is your child." Abraham got up early in the morning. He took bread and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar, placing them on her shoulder to make the carrying easier. Then he sent her away with the boy. They left and began wandering in the desert near Bathsheba. And when the water in the skin was used up and the boy's thirst became distressing to her, she set the boy under a bush. Then she walked a bow shot distance and sat down. She said, let me not see my child die." She sat there and wept and wailed. The boy too wept, and God took note of this. God's angel called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What troubles you, Hagar? God has heard the boy's voice. There where he sits. Go to the boy, lift him and hold him tight and give him strength, for I will also make him a great nation." God allowed her eyes to see what they had not seen before, and she now saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with the water and gave the boy something to drink. God watched over the boy. He grew up and lived in the desert, where he became an expert archer. He settled in Panorama Desert, south and west of the Dead Sea. It was there that his mother arranged for him a wife from Egypt named Fatima. At the same time, Amalek feeling uneasy. Check it out. Well, at the same time, Amalek, feeling uneasy about Abraham, took his general Piscal with him and approached Abraham, saying, "God is with you in all your dealings. Now, swear to me by God, right here and now, that you will deal with me, my children, and all your descendants as my behavior toward you deserves. Show your kindness to us in all this land, which has been so welcoming to you, although you are not our people. I do swear," replied Abraham. So what I want you to keep in mind too, while we reading all this, notice you see, this ain't none of Abraham's land. Abraham a stranger, he a foreigner. Keep that in mind because of Genesis 15. They want to make that out to be America, but it ain't got nothing to do with America and our captivity over here. So it says, it was at this time that Abraham reminded Amalek of the complaint he had brought earlier concerning the well that was taken from him by the force. Although he had not at that time informed Amalek that it was the king's servants who had done so. Amalek said, "I know nothing about my servant doing such an act, and you never told me of this, and neither have I heard about this from anyone else." And when they had completed speaking, Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Amalek, and the two of them made a settlement. Abraham placed another 7 female sheep aside by themselves. Amalek asked Abraham, what is this meaning of these 7 ewes that you have set aside? Abraham replied, take these 7 ewes from my hand. Let them be as a witness to you that I have dug this well. That area was therefore called Bathsheba, well of 7, meaning the 7 ewes. Since the oath made between Abram and Amalek was made there, with the treaty now concluded, Amalek and his general Pisgah left and returned to the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Bathsheba. Okay, hold on 1 minute. Okay, and in Bathsheba of his friendship, for his friendship, there he proclaimed to the people that God was the source of mercy, the Almighty, possessor of the ultimate power. Abraham lived there in the land of the Philistines for many years, right? So this ain't his land. He's a foreigner here, right? It was after these events that God tested Abraham, called, okay, tested Abraham, and God called out Abraham, and Abraham acknowledged the voice that he had heard. God then said, take your son, Isaac, the son of your beloved wife, and go together to Moriah area. There you shall bring him as an olive offering, an offer that is completely burned. Begin your journey, and I will guide you to one of the mountains there. And Abraham got up early in the morning, saddled his donkey, gathered his 2 servants with him, and his son Isaac. He cut wood for the offering, and they then set out for the place which God had told them. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up into the distance and saw the place. He said to his servants, stay here with the donkey. My son and I will go to that place where we will worship and then return to you. Abraham placed the wood for the offering on Isaac's shoulders. Then he took the flint for making a fire and a knife to be used for the slaughter. And the 2 of them went up up the mountain together. Soon Isaac called out to his father, Father, yes, my son, here are the preparations for the fire, the flints and the wood, but where's the lamb for the offering? And God will see to it that there will be an offering, my son, replied Abraham. The 2 of them continued onward together. And when they finally came to the place in which God had told him, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood. He then bound his son Isaac and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out and took the knife with which he was to slaughter his son. And God sent his angel down, and the angel called out, Abram, Abram, yes, I am here. Do no harm to your son. Do not do anything to him. You have shown your love and your fear of God, for you have not withheld your only son from God. Abraham then took up and saw a ram in a mass of hedges, caught him by his horns. He went to the ram, took it, sacrificed it in his son's place. He burned it until it was completely consumed by the fire. And Abraham named the place, check it out. Abraham named the place Adonijah Yara, meaning God is in his nature and his source of mercy will see. He will see all that happens upon this mountain. That he will see all that would happen upon this mountain. In our later times, Adonijah Yara is understood to mean on God's mountain. He makes his presence known to his people. So we know Yahweh don't have no mountain. These angels on these mountains. So that's what Abraham saw. Moses, when he went to the mountain to Horeb, the angel was there. Yahweh ain't on no mountain. Angels on mountains. So it says, 23 and 15, God angel called Abraham a second time and said, God has declared, I have sworn by my own essence that because you performed this act as I commanded you and did not hold back your only son of your wife Sarah, I will bless you greatly and increase your generation like the stars of the sky and the sands of the seashore. Your offspring shall control the gates of their enemies inhabiting their cities. All the nations of the world shall attach them. Check this out. All the nations of the world will attach themselves to the ways of your descendants, and these nations too shall be blessed. All because you obeyed the words I spoke unto you. And Abraham returned to his waiting men, and together they set out. They arrived at Beersheba, where Abraham stayed for a while before going on to uh, Haran. Hebron. Soon after his return from the mountain, Abraham received a message. Milcah, Sarah's sister, the wife of her brother Nahor, has also borne children, and from among them you may wish to choose a wife for Isaac, the son of Eutus, his firstborn, Buz, his brother, Chemiel, the father of Abram, Kased, Cashdan, I can't pronounce his name. All these are the children of Nahor, Abraham's brother, right? That's how he knew to send his servant to go get Rebecca for Isaac, whose daughter is called Rebecca. Nahor bore 8 sons to Abraham's brother, Nahor, right? Sarah had lived to be 127 years old. Her childhood years were 7. Her beauty as a child remained with her until her womanhood of 20 years. She was without sin in her womanhood. Her beauty and her purity did not diminish in her remaining 100 years of her life. These were full years, cheerful years, important years, good years. Sarah died in Kiryat Arba in the land of Canaan. Abraham went there and he eulogized her and mourned her and wept for her. Abraham arose from beside her body and spoke to the children of Heth, the Hittites. I am an immigrant. Check it out. I am an immigrant residing among you. This ain't none of his land, right? I am an immigrant residing among you, he said. Allow me some property of my own for a burial place where I can bury my dead in your country, but distant from here. The children of Heth replied to Abraham, saying to him, listen to us, sir. You are in our midst, the prince of God. Take our best burial site to bury your dead. No one among us will deny you his burial site to bury your dead. Abraham arose and bowed to the children of Heth assembled before him. He spoke to them and said, if you really want to help me bury my dead in a place distant from here, then being an alien, here you go, then being an alien among you, I ask you to plead for me to Ephron, the son of Zohar, to allow me to acquire some land of my own within your country. Let him sell me Miphalah cave, which belongs to him at the edge of his field, and let him sell it to me as a burial place, with you as a witness that I am paying paying the full price. If Ekron happened to be sitting there among the children of Heth, Ephron the Hittite replied to Abraham, they are there at the city gate in the presence of the children of Heth, where all could hear and bear witness. Not so, my Lord, he said. Hear me, I am giving you the field. I am also giving you the cave that is there. Here in the presence of my countrymen, I am giving it to you. Bury your dead. Abraham bowed down before the local people. He spoke to Ephraim in a way that all the local people could hear. If you would but listen to me, he said, I am giving you this money for the field. Take it from me. Then will I bury my dead there. Ephraim replied to Abraham, saying to him, my Lord, listen to me. Why should we let 400 shekels, silver shekels worth of land stand between us? Go on, bury your dead. Ephraim's meaning was clear to Abram. Abraham weighed out an amount of silver that Abraham had in truth been asking for in the presence of the assembled children of Heth. It totaled the value of 400 shekels in the lawful money of the land. And so the field of Machpelah, adjoining Mamre, came into the complete ownership of Abram. The field, the cave contained therein, and all three within the field became his. And through the purchase, in front of all the children of Heth assembled at the city gates as witnesses, Abraham then buried his wife Sarah in the cave within Machpelah field, which adjoins Mamre, also known as Chevron, in the land of Canaan. With this purchase from the children of Heth, the field and its cave became the uncontestable property of Abram as a burial site. And when Abraham became old, with his years having been filled by God with the prosperity and happiness, he said to his senior servants of the household, Eliezer, who was in charge of all that he had owned, as is our custom when undertaking a pledge, I now place myself in full trust of your mercy by having you place your hand beneath my private parts, and do so. Then this will bind you by an oath to God, right? That you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I live. Rather, you must go to my native land, to my birthplace, and there obtain a wife for my son Isaac. But what shall I do if the woman does not want to come back with me to this land? Ask the servant. Shall I then bring your son to the land of your people? I am charging you, this is Abraham talking to Eliezer. I am charging you, replied Abraham, do not bring my son back there. God took me away from my father's house and the land of my birth. He spoke to me and made an oath. To your offspring will I give this land. God will send an angel before you, and you will indeed find a wife there for my son. And the girl does not want to come back with you, then you shall be absolved of my oath. But under no circumstances shall you bring my son back there to the land of my birth. The servant placed his hand below the private parts of Abram, his master, as a sign of his oath. The servant then took 10 of his master's camels, loaded them with the best things that his master owned. He set off and went to Aram, Nathal, I can say that word, the place where the Tigris and the Euphrates River meet. Then to the city where Abram's brother Nahor lived, the city of Haran. And when Eliezer arrived by the well outside the city, he let the camels rest on their knees. It was evening at the time when women go out to the well to draw water. Now he began to pray. And God, Lord of my master Abraham, be with me today and give your kindness to my master Abraham. And as I stand by the well, I see the daughters of the townspeople approaching to draw water. If I say to a girl, please turn your pitcher to me and let me drink, and she will reply, drink, and I will also water your camel. She is the one whom you have designated to be the wife of your servant Isaac. If there be such a girl, I will know that in your loving kindness you have granted this favor to my master. Before he had finished his prayer, a girl appeared, daughter of Bethel, who was the son of Micah, the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. She was carrying a jug on her shoulder, and it was clear from her extremely modest manner that this beautiful girl was still a virgin. The girl went down to the well, filled her jug, and then returned. The servant ran toward her. Here we go again. Ran. The servant ran toward her. Please, if it's not too much trouble for you. Let me have a sip of water from your jug. And he said, drink, sir, she replied. She quickly lowered her jug toward him, and he drank. And when he had finished drinking, she said to him, let me draw water for your camel and have them satisfy their thirst. She quickly emptied her jug into the water trough and ran to the well again to draw more water. She continued until she had drawn the water for all the camels. Now she don't know this dude, Madam Man. Same way what Abraham was doing. Abraham was servant. When the angels came, he running and doing everything. He ain't got time to have no attitude. See the same thing right here. So the man stood there, gazing in wonderment. He kept quiet, thinking to himself whether this was truly the sign from God, that this mission was successful. And when the camels had finished drinking, he took out the gold ring. Go back to the daughters of Zion I read the other day in Isaiah chapter 3. All the changes of power and all the stuff they had. They ain't working. So look right here. It says, the men stood there in wonderment, and he kept quiet, thinking to himself whether this was truly a sign from God, right? That his mission was successful. When the camels had finished drinking, he took out a gold ring weighing half a shekel, 2 gold arm bracelets weighing 10 gold shekels. He did not place them on her, for it was not proper for a stranger to do so. Instead, he gave them to her, knowing that she would then tell her family that he was not an ordinary traveler. Whose daughter are you, he asked. Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? And she replied, I am the daughter of Bethel, who is son of Micah of Nekar. And then she said, we have plenty of straw and fodder, as well as a place for people to spend the night. The man bowed low to, look at this, the man bowed low to the ground in gratitude to God. He said, blessed be to God, the Lord of my master Abraham. God continues even here to show my master Abraham such thankful kindness. For here I am still on the road, and God has led me to the house of my master's close relative. The girl ran to her mother's house and told her what had happened. Rebecca's brother Laban heard and ran out toward the stranger waiting at the well. He said he had seen the ring and the bracelets on her sister's arm. Knowing what the stranger had said to his sister Rebecca, he went over to the well to the stranger tending his camels there and said, you are a man blessed by God. Why does a man of such possession as you have shown still stand out here? Come, I have a clean house for you, and I prepared a place for your camel. The stranger came into the house and removed the muzzle from his camels. Laban gave straw and fodder to the camels and provided water for the stranger and the men with him. Look here we go again. Camels provided water for the stranger and the men with him to wash their feet. Food was brought out from them, but the stranger said, I will not eat until I have spoken of why I'm here. Speak to us, replied the host. And the stranger said, I am Abraham's servant. God blessed my master with abundance. He has prospered, for God granted him sheep, cattle, silver, gold, slave girls, camels, donkeys, and Sarah, my master's wife, gave birth to a son even after she had grown old. To his son, my master gave all that he owned. My master bound me by an oath. Do not take for my son a wife from the Canaanites, in whose land I live. Instead, you must go to the land of my father, to my family, and it is there that you must find a wife for my son. And I said to my master, but what if the girl will not come back with me? He said to me, God, whose ways I have followed, will send his angel with you and make your mission successful. You will find a girl worthy as a wife for my son from among my family, from among my father's house. However, you shall be free of this oath you have taken if those of my family do not agree to give you a wife for Isaac. Now today I came to the well and prayed, O God, Lord of my master Abram, if it is your will, grant success to this mission that I am undertaking. Here at the town well where I am standing, when a girl comes to the well to draw water, I will say to her, let me drink some water from the jug. If she answers, not only may you drink, but I will also draw water for your camels. Then she is the wife designated by God for my master's son. I had not yet finished quietly speaking my prayer when Rebecca came near, carrying a jug on her shoulder. And when she went to the well to draw the water, I said to her, please give me drink. She immediately lowered her jug and said, drink, and I will also water your camel. I drink, while she also gave the camel water to drink. I then asked her, whose daughter are you? She replied, I am the daughter of Bethel, who is the son of Micah and Nachor. And then I placed a ring on her nose and a bracelet on her arm. In gratitude to God, I bowed low to the ground and blessed God. Lord, my master Abraham, who led me directly here to get a niece of my master for his son. Now, if you would deal kindly with my master and give the girl as a wife to his son Isaac, and accept his conditions that his son Isaac will not come here, then tell me so, else I will depart from here. And Laban and Bethel both spoke up. They said, this is clearly from God. It is not for us to decide. Rebecca is standing here before you. Take her and go. Let her be a wife to your master's son, as God has spoken. And when Abraham's servant heard these words, he once again bowed low to the ground, blessed God. He then brought out gold and silver jewelry as well as articles. Check this out. He brought out gold and silver jewelry as well as articles of clothing, gave them to Rebecca. To her brother, to her mother, he gave tokens of gifts of delicious fruit. The servants of his men then ate and drank and stayed overnight. And when they got up in the morning, the servant said, let me now return to my master. The girl's brother and mother replied, let the girl remain here for the betrothal period, a year or less, or at least 10 months. Then she can go. Do not delay me, said the servant, since God has already made my mission successful. Let me leave to return to my master. Let's call the girl and ask her directly. And they replied. They summoned Reba, said to her, Rebecca, and said to her, do you want to go with this man? I will go, she replied. Then the family thus permitted Rebecca, along with her handmaiden, a former nurse, to go with Abraham's servant and his men. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right there. Okay, anybody have any comments or questions on what I was reading? Did anybody get anything out of that? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, anybody got any comments or questions or what's that?
I was just saying we can hear you.
Okay. So you see how much more information is involved in that than what we got out of the King James. It's way more clear. And like I said before, we can see
Way more detail, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the talk. Here, let me show you this book right here, because I had this book for a long time, man. I didn't deal with it because I was trying. I had ordered something else, but let me show it. Okay. There you go. Can you see that? I mean, there it is. the Targums of Americana, but it's the first 5 books of the Bible, but it's more information on it. Okay. I think I paid $24 for it. Okay.
Did you get it on Amazon or eBay?
I got this on Amazon.
Amazon, all right, cool. And I'll check it. I got one downloaded in PDF, but how I'm listening, huh?
Ain't nothing like a book.
Right, ain't nothing like a book because the one you're reading, it's more, it reads more like it was translated straight from Hebrew to English, and the one that I got downloaded on PDF sound like it done went through the Greek and the proper English and all of that other stuff. So it doesn't read as well as that book you got. You know. But another ill question about it is something that I always thought was interesting, even in the King James though, was the fact that, you know, the servant left, you know, a little earlier, and they was like, yo, let her stay back here with us for the betrothed period, which is something that, you know what I mean, a lot of folks look over. There's a period that takes place.
Right.
You know what I mean? The betrothed period is a lot of knowledge and information that a woman learns.
Right.
In that time, preparation during that time. And it's interesting.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and another thing on there that I wanted to shine a light on was that, you know, when you see in Genesis 18 that Abraham was by this tree, which is and the tree represented it was like a marker for Mamre, and a lot of people don't know Mamre is a man of the giant. That tree was the marker where his territory started at. But Mamre is one of the men that went with Abraham to get Lot. And not only that, he had 3 other brothers that was with him. A lot of people don't know that. But anyway, so when Abraham came across Shem, Melchizedek, and those other kings, and they tried to give him a bunch of spoils, Abraham told them he don't want nothing from them, but the men that's with him. Make sure you provide for them. So he talked about Mamre and these 300 men that Abraham taught them the ways of the Most High. They didn't know nothing about, like this Eliezer. He didn't know nothing about the Most High. Abraham taught him everything he know. That's why he's talking like that. So it goes back to what you're saying about the betrothal period. There's a lot of information that's dispensed in the process at a certain time in our culture. You know, we're not dealing with, let's go back to thinking like a Hebrew. We ain't dealing with none of that. We all set.
Right. And you think about it, those giants were loyal to Abraham, that we could see that seed line went all the way into David's timeline. Right?
And then, yeah, right, exactly. Then another part about it is, like I was saying, he's sowing all this knowledge in them, and then they were circumcised. See what I'm saying? That's how they got a lot to do with a lot of when it comes to us. So these men, these boys, at a certain time is a time period when they have to be weaned. It's a time when they have to be circumcised, and then they study getting this knowledge. We ain't the same mindset, the same person that we dealing with today.
Right. That's what you was reading. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't, because it's been a minute. I haven't read them chapters in Genesis. But I off GP, I don't know. Did Abraham speak to Amalek that way in the KJV? I don't know if it's in the TANAK either. When he said
he kind of they have a couple of encounters where they dialogue, but not in this capacity.
That's what I mean. Like, so the thing that hit me the monks was like, why'd you behave like that? And he was like, because I see that there's no fear of the Lord here. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember reading that. I might be off, but you know,
it ain't there.
He straight up said that, yo, I'm like this because I see that there's. So I'm looking at, you know, where we are today. You know, there's no fear of the Lord here today. So, you know, you got to be real slick with how you move with these folks out
Right.
here.
You gotta gauge it. You gotta gauge it. Oh yeah, and then so to the point where, you know, some places you go and some people you deal with, you don't have time to waste with them because you see what's up with them in that bucket. Then it's certain ones you deal with and spend the time because you're looking at it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Like nothing's changed really. You know, you still suffering the same things they were suffering. You know. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then you have to understand too that if the Most High and brought you to a certain place, as far as the knowledge that He given you, you're in a certain place. You know what I mean? And you got certain obligations.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ain't nothing gonna happen to you. When you walking in that space, ain't nothing gonna happen to you.
Right, as long as you keep to them obligations.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, keep them. Don't get puffed up and high like that. That's what I'm saying. It took a lot for like Abraham is, like he's the prophet of it all. So it's like we went from Shem being king of Salem to the first prophet spoken of, which was Abraham now. So we went from Melchizedek, and then Abraham turned, here goes our first prophet. And the way he moved was like with all meekness, one of the most powerful men Israel ever, or Hebrews knew. He was the first Hebrew, which is, you know what I'm saying, that tracked all over. So he was a vagabond, right? He moved from place to place for a minute, which all throughout that area, which helped him to understand how everybody was getting down.
Right.
So his knowledge and information dealing with God showed him that, there's no fear of the Lord around these places I'm moving.
Right.
You know, the whole thing is deep when you really think about it. You know, his whole journey.
Yeah. You got to be in a certain place too to grasp it. So based on what I had read, I want to read this again because it's like an utmost importance to read it. So I'm back in Genesis 15. I'm reading this prophecy that everybody want to keep on trying to connect to America. So he says, this is Genesis 15:7, and he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give thee this land to inherit. He ain't inherited it yet. So he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, take a heifer 3 years old, and a she-goat 3 years old, and a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, divided them in the midst, laid each piece one against the other, but the birds he divided not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. They shall serve them, they shall afflict them 400 years, and he shall. So they in the land of Canaan, right? They in the land of Canaan, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And then here we go. Afterwards, they shall come out with great substance, and thou shalt go to thy fathers. He gonna die. Go to thy father, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again to the land of Canaan.
Right.
See that? not America. So he says, so what the Amorites said in the land of Canaan. So he says, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So the Amorites ain't over here. It's in the land of Canaan. So when they came out, they went into Egypt, came out with great substance, then they came back to the land of Canaan. That's what Joshua, Moses, and all of them judged the Amorites, like he said. This ain't got nothing to do with no America. 400 years old. Right. And we see that in the story I just read, because he keep on telling you he ain't inherited the land yet. That's what he asked him right there. How do I know I'm inherited? And he said, your seed gonna inherit it. After they come out of this great affliction, they gonna come here and they gonna inherit it. And that puts you slap down with Moses and Joshua and the Amorites. And then they went into the land and they inherited the land. It don't have nothing to do with no America.
Right. There's no Jericho over here. They ain't find that yet over here.
Exactly. Is there something? Yeah. So everybody good? We right at 2 hours, man. I try to stay on that 2 hours, man. Everybody good?
We good. I'm good.
I want to say shalom. And I'll see they got the women's class tomorrow, Bible study. So I'll see everybody tomorrow at the women at 8 o'clock. Men come to YouTube. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Okay.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.